So, welcome back to our second episode of Love and Future podcast. Today is a special day because Valentine's Day just passed, and I assume some of you must have celebrated it. For those of you who celebrated, happy belated Valentine's. I hope your life is full of love, and love was in the air, as they say. So, for those of you celebrating, would you mind sharing your favorite Valentine story? We have Andrea here. She probably has something to say because we know what she did.
Oh God, okay. Kind of a serial dater here. Hello, I'm Andrea. I love love. I love to be in love. I love to be pursued in love. Does it always work out? No, it never works out. But more on that later. My favorite Valentine's story would have to be this year, actually. I sent my mom some roses and I didn't sign my name. And then my family's in California. So she called me. She's like, somebody sent me roses. And then she sent me photos. And I was like, oh, they're so nice. And she's like, your dad sent them to me. And I was like, what? Dad sent you roses too? And then I didn't mean to slip up like that, but I did. And she's like, wait, they're from you? And I said, yeah. And she said, oh, your dad is taking the credit for these roses.
Let's start with Daddy.
Okay, with Daddy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
where was I? So my dad took credit for the roses that I delivered, or that I sent to my mom. And it was really cute and it was funny just because my dad he's like a kid now. He had some health problems a couple of years ago, but he's getting through them. And so I told my mom, yeah, the roses are from me and Dad. She said, oh, that's so sweet. And then my dad told me later, he's like, I don't know what happened to my delivery of roses. I guess they got delayed or maybe it didn't go through. I don't know. But thank you for sharing your roses for your mom with me. And so, yeah, that's my favorite Valentine's memory besides bailing out on a date that I didn't think was going to work out because I am not opposed to dating men that have children. Not at all. I love kids, but I'm opposed to them expecting me to babysit for free.
Mm-hmm. That's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
When I first heard of it, like off camera, I was like, he was not even trying to hide. He just, because I thought like if he was like clever enough, like if he didn't want to embarrass himself, he would use flowery language and he would just like cover up so many things to make you do some brain gymnastics to figure out what he really means. But then he just straight up telling you, would you mind looking after my daughter? Like he just straight up asking, and that was just so jarring to me.
I know, it's terrible. Like I know, okay, childcare is very expensive in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Being a parent is expensive, but so is being me. And I am getting my second master's in art education. I love working with kids, but it is my work. It's kind of how I try to make money so I can eat and live.
Yeah, exactly.
And for someone that you're trying to date or in the midst of talking about dating, to say that they don't enjoy spending time with their child and then kind of nudging you like, hey, but you like kids, right? You're a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
What is the unwritten message there? It's like, do you want to watch my kid?
Yeah, he's asking for that.
Yeah, but is he going to pay my salary? No, I don't think so. Otherwise, he would have already hired.
He will get you on board first and then salaries later.
So that's what they're doing now. They want you to fall in love with them and then you give them free childcare.
Oh, that's not love. Well, yeah, I mean, it was just so, like, eye-opening to listen to all these stories because when we talk about, like, love and Valentine's Day, like, we tend to think of it's all rainbows and unicorns, all roses and pink. But sometimes love is hard and you cannot say it so lightly. And you also mentioned your family love, right? It's such a beautiful and heartwarming story that you and your dad, you know, care for your mom so much, and you also care for your dad. By the way, how was your little furry friends, your furry families?
Oh, my boys. My sons. I don't have human children yet. I have feline sons. They're two twin boys, Callie and Salem. And they always are my forever Valentines because I've had them since they were 6 months old.
Oh.
They're going to be 10 in September. They're kind of crazy, but they are registered emotional support animals. If I have a migraine, like I'm working on my laptop for too long, they'll just go over and be like,
Oh.
Or my favorite, just, excuse me.
Oh, yeah. They don't know personal space.
They don't.
But the people love them for intruding their personal space.
They do. They warn me and tell me, like, you're overdoing it. So stop that, rub my belly, then feed me.
Yeah. That's cats. Cats doing cats things. I love cats. Oh my god. For all the dog people listening to this, I'm sorry. We are both cat people.
I do have a dog, though.
Oh, yeah.
In California. I had to leave him because he's old. This is Teddy.
Teddy.
My
Say
little
hi to Teddy.
boy. Little teddy bear.
He's so fluffy.
He is. He's a little brat, though.
Oh.
He's my dog. I got him for my, one of my, like, 22nd, 23rd birthday. I had him well trained. He could sit, he could heel, he walked, I'd be like, Teddy, big, and he'd be like, okay.
Good boy.
He was such a good boy. Then I left for school, and now whenever I visit my mom's house in California, Teddy ignores me. He doesn't know how to sit, he doesn't know how to beg, he just kind of goes like, bleh, bleh. He makes these weird kind of upset old man noises, but he's completely spoiled.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing all the furry friend stories. Yeah, I think of, I want to get a pet so badly. But, in New York City apartment, sometimes it doesn't allow pets, or I don't even have extra efforts and money to, spend on my furry friends. Like, if I want to get a furry kid, I need to be a good parent first. So I need to be financially and, independent to afford all that. But I love tending to other people's furry kids and human kids.
Next time I leave town, would you like to cat sit?
Oh yeah,
I will pay you.
Well, let's talk about that. I will work on that. I will work on communicating with cat, because sometimes when I spend time with the three cats at my colleague's house in Pittsburgh, I definitely felt it's just as hard as raising a child, because the three cats, there are 2 boys and 1 girl. The 2 boys, the one boy is called Bullet, not Bully. He's not a bully, mind you. Bullet, he just kind of, he's a teenage boy. He's a
black cat, right?
Yeah, he's a black cat.
So he's a void.
Not like
that's
a void.
What they call them now. Like they call black cats.
Well, they are.
Void.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, it has like black fur, but it still has some stripes to it. So like a black and grayish fur.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, so he's still different from the void, like, the pitch black cat. But he just looks a little tough. He's like, I think his fur just feels like a little firmer than the other 2 cats.
Oh.
So he's like a natural born fighter. He's always like running around and trying to fight Tommy, the other boy. And sometimes he was just like, he likes to jump around, and so he loves this like little cat stick. So you wave around and he will just like,
the dancer,
he
wand.
He likes to catch the little feather on top.
Oh.
Yeah, so Bullet is very, like, he's a little aggressive, but he's not a bad boy. He just loves to play. You need like more time for him.
Aggressive.
Tommy, he
Salem
bites you. Oh
he
my
does.
god.
I don't know if you can even see it, but there's like a little bite.
Yeah. Tommy is softer. He's a little clingy, so like he would come up to the room I'm staying in the middle of the night, just scratching on the door, and I just say, "Oh, who that? Like, it's definitely not my colleague. Like, she wouldn't be up."
She would be scratching at your door.
I opened the door and I saw nobody, and I looked down. It was Tommy.
Oh.
So Tommy would just like, so cats are nocturnal animals. Like, they would just be extra active at night. So I just let Tommy in, and then he would just like sleep on the carpet. The girl, she's the best girl. Her name is Zelda, as in the game.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, because the entire household is gamers. And so they would name the cat after that video game character. So I don't know how to describe the color of the cat, but like Zelda has like this pastel kind of color, and it's white and little orange and gray, like kind of just the pastel color. So it's super cute. She's such a shy and quiet, well-behaved girl. And one afternoon, I was taking a nap and I left the door open, and then Zelda just like sneaked in and jumped on my bed, and then she just put her paws on the blanket, and she's just doing that thing.
Oh, she was making biscuits.
Yeah, she was making biscuits, and then I was napping, she was napping too, and then she just used my arms as a pillow, and it was the best moment. Like, I never got that much serotonin in my life. Like, I felt so loved at that moment, So after leaving, I just said goodbye, bid farewell to the 3 cats, but that was sure. I mean, there will definitely be a next time because they are just so precious.
Oh.
As we said, right? Love is not always, a straight path. The video can stop. Things can mess you up. You can mess up your pace, and sometimes during the darkest time, the hardest time, you will need love to hold yourself together and to leave room for uplifting the people around you. And that segues to my one definition of love that I resonate with a lot. I heard of it in 2020 during the Black Lives Matter movement, and I read a lot of theories and praxis from radicals. And one of them, I think they mentioned revolutionary love or radical love. It's not just interpersonal emotion. It's sort of like a political act or political philosophy that is born out of oppression and alienation. So people at a margin, they endured so much hardship, systemic oppression. They were put down, but it is precisely because of these terrible things, they need to be extra strong, extra resilient to have the energy to change the system. And so revolutionary love advocates for community building, mutual trust, cooperation, and this, big magnanimous love that encompasses not just you, your friends, your families, but also people in your community, no matter how far away from you. It can be the people in your neighborhood, but it can also be the people in the other side of the world who are experiencing similar oppressions. So this intersectional and internationalist sort of love just really transcends, the very mundane definition. And I think that just brings love to another level. And I keep that in mind. I think, revolutionary love is what pushes me to do the work I'm doing now, to educate and to read books and to make connections with people. And in that way we can hold each other and then, make the world a better place.
Yeah. One of the first things I learned in my interpersonal communication class is that we know who we are based on what outside influences tell us that we are. And that might be a dated definition these days, because I was lucky enough to be loved by my family and to be told, you're so photogenic, you're so creative and artistic and talented and blah, 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 etc. But then the criticisms I received too also formed who I am. And the harshest criticisms I ever received were also from my family. People who loved me and they wanted to see me do better, be better, push past certain limitations that I imposed on myself. But outside of the family, then we have problems with bullying. We have problems with society and consumerism. And one of the main gripes I have with the beauty industry is that I know I'm all dolled up right now, like I'm wearing makeup, and that's because I don't feel professional or put together or confident without makeup. But what is so wrong with my skin as it is? Flawed, with acne, with wrinkles, with, dry patches, and it's oily, and I have eczema. And who's the one that told me that there was problems with my skin? It was the beauty industry. And then my mom worked in dermatology, so she always had different treatments and different creams and stuff for me, because I get hyperpigmentation that happens with mixed race people. Is that if I get a scar or an acne, then it won't heal the same color. It heals much darker because there's a lot of melanin that just kind of sticks to that area of new growth. And so I would use bleaching creams to try to bleach out this weird dark spot on my skin that I never understood. And then I started developing freckles, and my mom took me to her boss, the dermatologist, and she said, how can we get rid of her freckles? And I said, wait, no, I like them. I like my freckles. I don't want to get rid of them. And I have moles. I have a huge mole on my thigh, and people used to make fun of me for it. But in Spanish, mole is lunar. So lunar, right? Of the moon. And some legends believe that when you have a giant birthmark like that, like my dad has one on his neck, that's how you died in a past life. Yeah, so I have a huge one on my thigh. So I don't know what the story behind that is either. But other people believe that because the word lunar is so close to luna, the moon, that you are literally touched by the moon in that place.
Wow, that's poetic.
Yeah.
because I've never thought about it. Like, I definitely have moles. And
but you have a beautiful,
I know.
right
Well, that
here.
you're the first one that said it's beautiful.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Because nobody is telling, like, nobody commented. Nobody commented, but I just felt, it's a little weird. Or it has something to do with not the beauty industry, but with representation in media. Because I grew up in Chinese media and watch Chinese cartoons. And in some cartoons, villains, especially those who are so wicked and so twisted, they had moles on their face, or they are like have some very distinct features on their face. They don't have the quote unquote beautiful, pure, perfect face.
Oh, the porcelain skin.
No, they wouldn't. Like, and darker, if you have like a darker skin in media, they would always portray darker skin characters as more aggressive, as this kind of reckless character. And I think that representation really influenced how people view others in their real life, right? I've heard of this theory of like media or books as mirrors, windows, and sliding doors. So when you see a media, you kind of see your reflection in the media, and if that mirror shows a character, you definitely won't love yourself, and you definitely have like a poor self-esteem about who you are. And others, if they see it like through the window, which is media, and they saw, this person people who look like that behave this way, and they would start to project that thing to in real life people who share similar traits or similar features. And I think that can be a little harmful. Because you not only would you stop loving yourself, but also others would stop caring for you, and they would just make fun of you just because media tell them to do so. So like, yeah, thank you for the compliment. And I love that poetic definition in Spanish that moles, or even big moles, are attached to the moon, being touched by the moon. Like, that just sounds magical.
Yeah.
It really it just kind of awakens something in us. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's so cute.
You're very welcome.
Yeah,
I noticed you have it's two and then one bigger one. So it's
you
have a triangle
wow.
there.
Yeah, that's just I honestly thank you for that. Well, I want to be very vulnerable about this because I sometimes just feel I don't like that. Like honestly, for me, I might consider getting rid of it, unfortunately.
Aww.
But
well, keep an eye on it. If it grows too big, changes colors, gets uneven, then definitely go to a dermatologist and have them assess it for
I see,
sun damage.
I remember. It definitely grew over the years. Like, I compare myself now with the photos from elementary school. It definitely grows a lot, but that's a different story. But anyways, thanks for the encouraging message, and I love how self-care is very important, which brings us to the next prompt or little segue to self-love, because you cannot love each other or love others if you cannot begin to love yourself first. Self-care, self-love is a revolutionary act. It's a radical act, because it restores the energy. It kind of helps you to reflect. So just a basic question: what do you usually do for self-care? Do you have a therapeutic moment, like a ritual every day?
Yeah. Actually, yes. This has been a really tough year, just health-wise for me. So I started really focusing on my daily rituals, which I get up, I feed the cats, shower and stuff, but I'm starting to make my own homemade botanicals again, which I hadn't done for a long time. So sugar and honey as just a skin scrub, just a little bit at a time, because if I make it too big and then I don't use all of it, that's the thing with the homemade botanicals, is that they will expire very quickly because there's no preservatives or anything in them. But really just honoring myself, honoring my body, honoring when I need to rest, because rest is also revolution.
Yes.
It's a part of self-care. I love to make floral teas. So I have hibiscus flowers, I have the butterfly pea flowers, I have rose buds, and depending on my mood, then that's the kind of flower or the blend that I choose. And I've got a huge humidifier, and I've got all my essential oils. I'm I'm feeling like I need to clean the energy today, so let's put in some sage and rosemary. And cleaning, I have to clean a little bit every day because I live in a studio and I'm also an artist.
Yeah.
I tend to be a pack rat when it comes to art supplies because they're so expensive. I refuse to throw them away. I know I will get a use out of them eventually, or I give them to someone that I know will use them. And I don't want to add to this idea of just throwing away perfectly good things.
Right.
That's one of the biggest things that I feel guilty about. Like, if I'm not hungry and I don't eat all my food and I put it in the back of the fridge and I forget about it and it goes bad, I feel so guilty.
Exactly. That's what I did. So that's why when I go grocery shopping, I only buy things that's good enough for a week. Like, if I don't need it, I don't buy it. Even though they might sound tempting at this moment, but if I, after a second thought, that, oh, might not be able to finish it, or I might not need it, and like so urgent, so I would just like refuse to buy it at all, rather than just take one bite, leave it there, and then it go bad. Or I would just like some excess food that is perfectly fine, but I definitely don't need it. I can just like give it away to people who really need that instead of just letting them go waste. And that's really good. I mean, it shows like you not only care for yourself, you also care for others and care for the planet by not ditching the burdens to the nature or to society. That's really nice. And I love how cute you have those little flowers. You cleanse the energy, and you have different like specific things for specific moods and situations. That's really cute. Like I enjoy tea a lot, but I just drink tea for, I like flavored water because I think regular water is just boring. I just want something that's unsweetened but still got tons of flavor to kind of make my drinking more interesting. I kind of do it unconsciously, but somehow that feels good to me, and that could count as self-care. It's small, but it's influential. It changes like how it really changes my mood, makes my life better. The same with coffee. Like every morning, I just need that freshly brewed coffee.
There's something about the smell.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
Wakes you up
exactly.
And energizes you.
Like when I got the bag of coffee beans, like I can just smell it through the bags, and that's freshly roasted beans smell. It just chef's kiss. And then I just like, I think my life is going on the better direction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think how the smells and scents around us can influence us so much.
Exactly.
Like, my two cats are stinky boys.
Oh.
Boys tend to be a little stinkier than girls, from what I've noticed, but I have to clean up after them right away because if something smells awful, I feel awful.
Exactly. Yeah, my apartment has poor ventilation. Like, I don't cook that often just because even though I turn on the vent, there's still smoke, there's still strong smell, especially when you're cooking like meat or using a lot of condiments. It's gonna stay around, and because I live in the living room just to save rent, like that smell just won't go away. And I just have to open up the window. Sometimes during the summer there are bugs coming in. I hate bugs.
Oh my gosh.
So I just avoid like cooking like stovetop food. Like I can't boil things. Like if it's just boiling eggs or like something that don't smell that much, I can do that. But otherwise, I would just prefer like making my own sandwich that just doesn't require too much cooking. Yeah. So definitely smell impacts mood a lot. Like if I smell very strong food, even though they're good food, when it's staying around for too long, and especially when I need to focus, when I need to maybe sleep or study, that smell can be a disturbance. So yeah, I love like you need to change your surrounding, your mood varies with surrounding, and you have to strike this little nuance like coordination with your environment to set your mood right.
Yeah. And also you can make coffee right after you've cooked. Coffee is great at absorbing scents. And then I used to burn sage. My mom has this amazing garden in California, so I would go and I would collect sage and rosemary and lavender and make them into bundles and then burn it to clean the air.
That's fun.
Can't do that in New York.
No.
There's so many regulations. No candles, no incense, like nothing with an open flame. And so it's been difficult for me to figure out how to deal with odors that just happen to occur in one of the most crowded cities in the world. Also one of the oldest. Right now during the winter, because the weather's colder, it doesn't smell that bad.
Right, summers.
Yeah. the entire island kind of smells like heated garbage
For real.
when it gets too
when
hot.
you go, it smells like old subway station.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I tend to wear my mask during the summer, because I can't. I get nauseous when something smells too strongly and too gross. How do we fix this problem? What can we do with it? And cutting down trees is not the answer. Trees are natural purifiers.
Definitely. I don't see enough trees in New York City.
No, me neither. It's very depressing.
Yeah, it's all concrete jungles.
But there are some artists out there that are like eco artists, and they're using AI to delve into architecture. And
really?
So, yeah, they reimagine these buildings and skyscrapers, but they are built around this kind of green energy. So trees are on every single floor. Vines come out of balconies.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and it's just AI is. There's a lot of controversy behind it and stealing of artists and intellectual property and things like that. But if you use it to come up with ideas, then I think it could be a very helpful tool. And we're not going to know where that limit is in AI if we don't work through it. Right now, it's the Wild West in digital art. So to find out where we need to put these boundaries, where we need to have these legal repercussions, we need to go and actually explore them.
Right, you need to get your hands dirty to get a judgment. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so when you describe this kind of futuristic city, green city, I definitely have seen that in my childhood, because we used to have like vines just climbing up the walls, and there are some households who had like plants just hanging from the balcony. We had that thing. So actually, a lot of things we don't need AI or big technologies to make it sound futuristic. Many of the things have been done before, and it's in our everyday life. So we just need to keep an eye out for these ideas, and maybe start to rethink what's the cost of having these bricks and mortar, having these big buildings but not enough greens.
Yeah, and there is an argument that the bricks and mortar, that they will stand the test of time, etc. But there's this 5-year law here in New York that you need to have the fascia replaced within every 5 years.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
So during the summer, our apartment maybe like hit the 5-year mark, so they need to replace the wall, do some exterior like maintenance. And I'm just like, there's just like window. I'm like facing the windows, and I can see the little like escalator with people, and they're drilling the walls, and they are just hammering on the walls, and that just noise pollution.
Yeah. Another form of pollution, right?
Yeah,
There's scent
They're
pollution,
so
noise
bad.
pollution. There's also eyesores too. Like in the Bronx, the entire corner of one apartment building just crumbled.
Yeah. I saw the news. It was crazy.
Terrifying. There's a little girl's bedroom that I saw, and you could see the pink walls, and you could see some of her stuffed animals. And, I mean, how do you explain that? Where is the lapse in judgment? Who dropped the ball and allowed this building full of residents to crumble away? I'm not sure if anyone died or not. I don't think anyone did.
No, but it was still damaging, because there are families living there.
Yeah.
And who let the building up? Like, were there any rules, like violations? Like, did they just sweep it under the rug? Like,
there
nobody
had to
know?
have been.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is so terrible.
yeah, but that's the thing about eco-architecture and coming up with these new ideas for buildings, that maybe we don't have to build these structures to last forever. Like plastic lasts 1,000 years or more, right?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of that? Are we going to be here in 1,000 years? No. So maybe we need to be more respectful of changing climates and environments, and realize that nothing is going to last forever. So build something to last as long as you think you'll need it, with the least amount of damage to the environment around it.
Yeah.
And maybe we're not meant to live in skyscrapers that block out the sunlight and then can crumble, and a brick can hit and kill someone walking on the sidewalk. We need to rethink the way we do a lot of things.
Definitely. That requires love to do it. Yeah. That requires the radical love I've talked about. It's not, we identify questions. Many of the change makers, they start off as angry and frustrated, just like we are, as we were talking about these terrible events. But you need love to give you that resilience, that strength to be creative, to reconstruct, to actually build something for the people you care about, you love. So that really rounds up this part of that conversation.
Yeah, that's a great. Thank you for saying that. It just made me think that when we get angry at atrocities, at injustice, that's the fire that's lit. But what keeps that fire going? That's love, and love is the oxygen.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think you mentioned beauty industry, and I've seen this trend on, I think, social media, whether it's Instagram posts, reels, or YouTube videos. You know, they kind of just market a lot of self-care products. There are influencers sharing their, you know, daily routines, and maybe they put the camera angle on a certain like kind of beverage they're drinking. For example, you do like floral tea, right? And then they had this like, they market this energy drink with mushroom powders. And yeah, like it's not the mushroom that you think. It's like some shiitake mushroom plus some other herbs, and they just crumble them in dissolvable like powder, and then they package and sell it in like super chic modern like packaging. And those influencers would say, "Oh my god, this brings me so much energy. I've never felt this great before. Self-care is very important. I think you should buy a product."
Oh my gosh.
Like, I think that more and more people are caring about themselves nowadays, and it's good. It's very important. It seems like there's this trend going on that feels a little off. So what's your opinion on that?
It is modern day snake oil salesman. So snake oil used to be sold as this cure-all, and you would, I think, take it like a cough syrup and it could cure anything.
Oh yeah.
And then this was in the Wild West. People later found out it was complete BS. It was just a lie. Yeah. There is no cure-all thing. You will not suddenly be skinny or thicker or whatever, have longer perfect hair, have less hair if you buy this one product. And that's always what's being marketed, is that in order for you to be happy, you need our product.
Yeah. I don't think these companies actually care about people's like well-being, but they want to brand it as they care for you, and creates this like everlasting like drive for you to consume.
Exactly.
But consumerism doesn't really promote self-love. It creates anxiety because it tells you you need this because you are lacking something. They always reminds you what you don't have.
Exactly.
Yes. And so you will lose sight of what you already have in hand.
That's a great point, is that whenever I look at commercials, the underlying message is you are not complete as you are. You need to fill the gaps in your soul and your heart, whatever, with our product. But the first message they send you is you are imperfect and you are incomplete. So now I get angry when I hear things like that, because I have everything I need. And a lot of times it's that pride that has kept me from reaching out for help from other people. But my community heals me and I heal it in return. And it's that kind of symbiotic relationship that rugged individualism, capitalism, consumerism is telling us that we don't need community. We need to get their products.
Yeah.
But in reality, exchanges like this, a conversation like this, is way more healing to me than going to get a facial.
Definitely. Like, they want you to believe that you need to pay a price so high to quote unquote fix something or to be a better person. But sometimes your self-care is actually simple. It's small act. Small but revolutionary act. Talking to people, spending time with your significant others,
Cats,
petting your cats, drinking floral tea.
Yep.
Yeah, they're all tangible, actionable things you can do, and it doesn't cost that much. But somehow these commercials think that you need to pay $30 for a box of 3 servings of mushroom drinks to get your energy back.
Right? Or a very specific metal thermos.
Yeah,
that's
I've
like
seen
$60
that.
for this giant cup. And now there's collectibles too, because we need to collect every color. Need to color coordinate with our thermos cup that is made of metal, and it's not made of plastic, so it's going to save the environment if we produce more of these.
Yeah.
And spend $60 a pop.
It's ironic.
It really is. There are some geniuses in marketing and advertising, because they know how to take a pure and beautiful message like self-care and self-love, and to flip it on its head and make people feel incomplete.
Yeah, that's just how wicked and how tricky that thing is, because it's becoming more and more covered up. As you said, you know, that guy who wanted you to be his personal babysitter, he's like capitalism, like at its embryo. Yeah. That's the most basic form. But nowadays, it just becomes more like harder to discern, because they can say good things. They can put out like euphemisms, and you somehow just felt, and they even had the power to buy you into that. So you, on first sight, you wouldn't like notice, but then after you realize how it preys on your anxiety and how it captures on, you know, a revolutionary or like a, you know, a powerful message, and then pushes you to spend money, tons of money. That is so wow. And then we need to see past, you know, all the flowery language that they use, and try to not be tricked by the new schemes.
Exactly. Yeah, it's getting difficult out here, especially for, it is so concerning to me to hear a father say, I don't really enjoy spending time with my daughter. My dad and I are so close, and I'm the oldest daughter, and then I have my younger brother. My dad used to watch us after school, and well, my mom worked, and then when my mom would come home from work, my dad would go and work the graveyard shift. So, but he would play with my brother and I, and he taught my brother to wrestle. He taught me to wrestle. He taught my brother how to hit a home run in baseball. He taught me the same thing. So I was kind of a tomboy, but then my mom would also dress me in these like frilly clothes, and I love my frilly clothes, but I also like to get dirty and down with the boys. And it's so important to me to have these influences that don't limit you to gender roles, because gender roles are completely made up. One time my dad told me, you need to wear nicer clothes. You're a girl. Take care of yourself. And I said, why? Like, my brother looks like a slob wearing clothes with the holes, and why do I have to be the girl? You know, why can't we all look good, or why can't we all be messy? But that was most of my childhood, was questioning everything around me, and I'm lucky that I had parents that would let me make up my own mind. I had to push really hard for some things. Sometimes parents, like some external force, can really brings out the self-love in you. Because self-love needs to be taught. And I'm so happy to hear that your parents raised you together, and really just tells you, you know, you need to care for yourself. You need to leave some room for how would you like to develop, how you would like to dress and play and behave. And really, gender role is BS. Like, some of the best like parents I've seen, they raise their children together and never tell their kids, you need to do this, or this is for boys, or that is for girls. No, whatever the kids want, the parents will say, okay, let you explore that, and if that works for you, go for it. If a girl likes skiing, go skiing. If a boy likes, you know, playing with origami or makeup,
let him do that. Yesterday I literally was like at this party. Most of these people have kids, but I've seen, you know, boys, and the boys and the girls there, they didn't do very gendered things. Like the girl, I asked their parents, they said that their girls would go for a skiing trip the next day, because you never heard, like, I felt growing up, I didn't expect like skiing would be a girl's sport, but the parents took their daughter to do outdoor sports, to do winter sports, to kind of train her, you know, resilience and, you know, her adventurousness. Boys, I know that boy, like typical boy stuff, he plays Pokemon, but he would also work on origamis with the other girl who was also doing the same thing. So they are good kids, because their parents tell them they can have time for themselves, they can have freedom for themselves, and
that's so important.
You need that parental guide to learn how to love yourself. And that's where you start to build connections with other people, with the world, with nature, with your furry friends.
That is a great point, is that I think a lot of us learn from our parents or guardians, adults around us, where we're quote unquote allowed to experience who we are. And that comes from trying other things. But if as a child you're told you're not allowed to do that because of how you happen to be born or how you look, or this cultural rule that we have, that's already self-limiting. That's already, you're telling a child, you may want to try this, but you can't because I'm deciding who you are.
That sounds pretty, like, this kind of parent really sounds like the commercials. Like, you need to do this strictly. This is the only way. You are not allowed to explore different, coping mechanisms. You are not allowed to think before you decide. You have to buy this.
Yeah.
You have to use our product. Why our product is better than the things you have right now. And that is toxic.
It is, yeah.
So a good parent should tell children, you are interested, explore first. If you don't like it, you can think of other ways, some alternatives. But if you like it, keep doing what you're doing and start perfecting your skills, and we will support that. And that's how love is born. It's not out of discipline. It's not out of cutting out all the other possibilities.
Yeah.
But about nurturing this self-exploration.
Exactly. Love it's more about trusting that the people around you are not going to do anything to hurt themselves or to hurt you. And if they do so accidentally, inadvertently, that it's because they need to test that boundary. I tell my mom this all the time, that she didn't raise my brother and I like we were little soldiers, even though her and my father were in the military in our home country. She raised my brother and I like we were scientists. So everything was like, I would ask my mother something, and then I would ask my father the same question, just because I wanted their opinions.
Yeah.
My brother took it a step further. He would ask everyone around him just one question. And it's because he was gathering data. And then we would all come back and be like, okay, what do you think now? And he'd be like, well, this is what I think based on all the information gathered around me. And if we raise our children like that to be experimental, we have to let them make their own mistakes. And it's not always a mistake if you learn from it. Like getting too close to the flame and burning yourself just for a slight second. You learn the flame, the fire, it's hot. I can't touch it directly.
Right.
But a lot of parents go, don't even look at it. Nope, that's not for you. Don't go near it. Don't even experience its warmth. That's also not the way.
Yeah, you really make me think for mistakes, because sometimes when you make a mistake, you stop loving yourself. You feel so guilty, and then you feel like, oh, you will never redeem this.
Yeah.
But accept that learning from mistake is also a type of care, because you start to self-reflect and you start to make better choices that work better for your health. That is care. And many people don't realize that. They just get they get sunk so deep into this vortex of guilt, and they just cannot pull themselves out.
And perfectionism, which we will all fail at 100% of the time. There's no such thing as the perfection that we think we need to achieve. So we're setting ourselves up to feel that guilt and to feel like failures when we can't do something perfectly the first time. So to me, the greatest way I've ever learned is through failure, because that's how I learned how to change my strategies in sports, in art, in writing. I broke a lot of rules. I had a lot of professors tell me I am not a good writer. And this was in high school. Then all of a sudden in college, the professors were different, more open-minded. That's when I started hearing, how did you get to be such a good writer? It's because I didn't listen to the people telling me what I was not allowed to do.
Yes. Having good judgments. You know, when somebody is trying to put you down, you can feel it and just don't care about them. You have to, no matter how authoritative they might sound, you need to have this power to say, no, I am not going to listen to someone who disregards my hard work, who disregards the efforts I put into this work. And you need a good mentor in your life. So I'm glad that you have such great professors in your college and in higher education. I definitely feel like during high school and during college, I experienced better teachers, mentors, especially in college. I think that a good professor would hand some of the classroom floor to students. I mean, a lot of students don't expect that. They kind of just expect teachers to lecture. Or they are afraid of having discussions because they are afraid of making mistakes or making fun of themselves.
To be wrong.
Yeah,
or to
but there's no right answer in a lot of college classrooms.
That's true.
Yeah, unless you're taking like a science class, because most of the teachers just expect you to answer things correctly. But when I'm in like a smaller classroom, and we're talking about more open-ended questions, we don't have right answers. We just bring connections between like our lives and the readings we have, bring our experiences with the concepts. It's all free. Like you can say whatever you want as long as you don't drift too much away from, the prompt questions. But yeah, there's no right answers. And the professors would allow the space for critical reflections, for conversations. And that is so different from this lecturing banking model that I experienced in middle school and high school. But I feel like the conversation-based, the dialogue-based education is something that I really, really appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very interesting that you would say in science and math, because I was pre-med for a while. That was my mother's influence. And I hated those classes because there was only one right answer.
Yeah. And
I started questioning where the data was gathered from and why it was so limited to mostly one demographic of people. And I asked my biology professor, Dr. B, he was wonderful, loved him. I said, how can we be sure that this is the law or this is a universal truth in medicine if our sampling of patients is limited to one race and one gender and one age group? Are you saying that there is a default human? Because then that brings into question the definition of normal or neurotypical these days. And I think there's so many people on this planet that we need to honor that everyone is an individual and their bodies will react differently to different stimuli. That's why we are now the apex predators, because we were able to adapt and to be social. We are alive because of each other. Yeah. Not because we can go out with our bare hands and fight a lion or a tiger on our own. It's because we developed our brains, we shared ideas, and we created tools.
That is so inspiring. And I resonate a lot with, the sample size, because I've read so many articles about, the eugenics origin of modern day statistics, because they only sample, I think, the typical white men. And some of these like structures were set up to argue for the dehumanization of races other than white people.
Exactly.
They have the normal curve, and I think that most of the statistics they brand themselves as universal law, natural law, but sometimes oftentimes they would have like a personal agenda hidden beneath. So when we are like doing critical theories, when we are learning more about the histories behind, we can start to realize that what we know as truth are not always so, and the default human just happens everywhere. Like this book about like invisible women, like women are absent in a lot of the designs. Most of the times, the women are afterthoughts. So cars, they were designed for men.
Exactly. I was going to bring that up. The seatbelts.
Yeah, the seatbelts.
More often they will break a woman's clavicle.
Yeah.
Because a lot of women, a lot of people born as women, I guess some of us tend to have a different frame. Yeah. And we're also not conditioned to want to work out our bodies to like build up the deltoids and the trapezius and the biceps and everything. So we tend to be smaller in some cases. I've been in a car accident and I saw the car coming and I kind of went like this with my seatbelt and then leaned forward and then the airbag was there. But it's because I had read that oftentimes the seatbelt will kind of cut into the neck. Oh yeah. It will break the clavicle. I had a massive bruise on my hip from where the seatbelt joined. Yeah, it's just, and I had like bruising all over my abdomen too. Yeah. The default human, like I remember in that book, is when I think in the intro it mentioned when people talk about identity politics, they never think white, rich, cisgender male
and heterosexual male as identities because they are already the default.
Yeah.
What's considered as identities, and especially identity politics, are what's outside of the default.
Ooh, you just made me think. I'm thinking about how I've formed my identities and how I define them, and it still has everything to do with white males. Because the way I define myself is I am not like a white male in these ways. So even identity politics, we still have some ways to go because the people behind this philosophy are still white males.
Well, the origin of identity politics come from Combahee River Collectives, is a group of African American women.
Oh, sorry, I may have spoken properly.
No, it's okay. But what I mean is,
Yeah.
a lot of times, this word nowadays it connotates something like the default. The white man kind of complex. They kind of latch onto this word, capture this word, and turn it into like a somehow derogatory like equivalent with political correctness and woke culture.
Yeah.
And they think that, oh, you are just wielding your identity as, everything, like you just, or you emphasize too much. But they never, I think the book is trying to say that why, when we talk about identity politics, we never talk about the default. We always mark certain identities as like, conspicuous. But we just leave out something.
Yeah. I think what bothers me the most about identity politics is that the main person that we're talking about is still a white male. And I don't see them learning. I don't see them changing. I don't see them taking themselves out of that spotlight and accepting other identities and accepting that their existence is also an identity.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what I was trying to say, is that behind everything is still this prototypical white male who is, I don't know, it's kind of like this invisible audience that I have in my mind, where I think to succeed in this world, there are certain things I have to do. There are certain rules, which I was never told by a single person. I was told by society. My parents, us as immigrants, we were told by society how to be the good immigrant. And I know who's the one saying all of these unwritten rules. And it's this embodiment of white male privilege.
Yeah, deep. Well, we have come a long way from dating, love, to family love, self-love, to the commercialization of love, which is very toxic, and then to how society pushes certain norms on us, how some of our identities as minoritized communities in the society kind of just have to subject to this white male gaze, sort of this structure. And I think that this kind of segues to maybe final points of this day, is that this is the time that we really need to love each other, because we are really living, like, as we are really under this huge dome of people telling you what you should be, this kind of urge, this kind of I don't know how to put it, this kind of tension that always befalls upon you, and you seem to feel it's hard to get rid of. And so to truly emancipate yourselves from this control is to start realizing that you have the capacity for love. You need to spend time to care for yourselves, to reflect on yourselves, to spend quality time with the people you genuinely care, your parents, your friends, your significant others, your colleagues you trust, and your furry friends, the nature. There are so many people and things that you can spend time with and talk to, or just interact with, to restore this energy. And that restoration of energy doesn't come from commercials, doesn't come from influencers, it doesn't come from pixels on your tablet. It comes from this real tangible connections you have with people, animals, nature, something like that. So when we are trying to elevate love from interpersonal, from individual, to the more spiritual and the more like philosophical term,
Collective.
the collective term, it's time for us to really redefine and complicate and trouble this concept, this definition of love. And that's where we start our journey of self-exploration as well as making a difference.
And radical acceptance.
And radical acceptance.
That's what we really need, is if we learn to forgive ourselves for being flawed.
Yeah.
And we learn to fight against that kind of imaginary audience, that voice telling us we're wrong and incomplete and we should have done these 10 tasks today rather than just the 3 that we had the energy for.
Definitely.
If we can forgive ourselves and give ourselves grace, naturally we will kind of work out that muscle, flex that muscle, and it will apply to other people, the people around us, the collective, the community. And that forgiveness and that leniency towards ourselves and others is what's really necessary today, because we could have a different opinion on like our favorite color, for example, favorite coffee drink. How you take your coffee, how you like your coffee, your favorite flavor should not have a lot to do with me. I shouldn't be so influenced or insulted that you don't take your coffee the way I do, that I have to change your mind. We can coexist being different.
Yeah.
And I don't know where this idea came from, that to love me, you have to agree with everything I do.
Yeah.
No. To love someone, you should be able to call them out, call them in, tell them what you're doing is problematic. You hurt me in these ways. But also accept that you yourself could be projecting sensitivities that they didn't grow up with. Love is having a conversation with someone and not trying to force your opinion on them.
Yeah.
It's about being understood and being forgiven. I think that's my new definition.
Wow, look. we have grown so much. Yeah, because at first you were like, we both didn't know what love actually is. Well, in fact, it should be, because it has a plethora of meanings. It has a plethora of connotations, emotions, actions. People, it varies from person to person. So as you said, everyone is an individual. So love means different things. I think for our audience, they probably have their own meanings for love. And what we say today might influence them, but we shouldn't be the ones to tell them, oh, you should think of love that way. But what they can start thinking of is maybe love can take in so much form, and maybe love is not always about like unconditional. It has boundaries. It can be criticism, but at the end of the day, you will learn something from it. You will grow from it.
Exactly. Yeah. Some of the people that, I think this is where I would call it tough love, where somebody has said something so insulting to me, and I was so hurt and so cut that I would take them aside and I'd be like, your words really hurt, and I want to explain to you why, so that maybe it doesn't happen again, but also so you just understand where I'm coming from and why I was injured, because I trust and hope in that person enough that they would care that they injured me, even if they didn't mean to. And I would hope that they would offer me that same exact action, that if I were to say something without even thinking and it hurt them, they would pull me aside and say, you injured me. And because I love them, I would really employ empathy into how they're feeling and try to change or think a little bit harder before I said something similar in the future.
That's beautiful. I think that's a wrap. Let's give a round of applause.
And our beautiful CEO over here.
Beautiful CEO over there chasing her love. She's full of love. I think so, yeah.
Super full of love. But not for the phone that failed us today. That's okay though. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
It'll be okay.
Well, that's tough love. When a phone does something, when it's doing us a disservice, we're gonna call it out and just scream into the screen and try to fix it, or maybe not fix it, but in this case, we can fix it, but not to a person. Yeah, we can do that to a phone, not to people.
Yeah, that's a good point. People don't need fixing; they need loving.
Yeah. That's a great way to end this. Loving, not fixing.
Yes.
It's love in future, not fix the future.
Exactly. Oh, I like this. Can't wait for the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Yay.
Yeah.
You gotta come meet my cats now.
I still need to work on my cat sitting skills. They are like kids.
Oh, yeah.